I'd like to introduce Ray from England, who takes LDN for Hailey Hailey's disease. Thank you for joining me, Ray.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Could you tell us about your Hailey Hailey's disease when you first started to notice symptoms?
Yeah, I first started to notice symptoms on my body about 7 years ago.
hmm What kind of symptoms?
Right. I was getting breakdown of the skin at that time, which was mainly centered around the neck on the left and the right sides. It was blisters, it was weeping, it was becoming infected, and it was rubbing on shirts, obviously, when I was working as a teacher.
hmm And what did your doctor say? What medication did he give you to help?
My doctor prescribed some cream and then some antibiotics. Basically what was happening was that the outbreaks were lasting for about 5 to 6 weeks, and then they were going into slight remission, but the breakdown was starting to come back again, and it appeared to be, over a period of time, that the outbreaks were actually getting worse because it was becoming more sore and it was breaking down with more regularity.
hmm
In 2009, 2010, I got massive eruptions in my groin area and also on my chest, under my arms, and my neck was really, really bad.
Was stress a factor? Did that make it worse?
Stress is a factor. Because obviously with taking LDN, it is in the UK off license, and although I had remarkable effects with it, remarkable benefits, I was going to see my consultant this week, and I was anxious that she was going to turn around and wash her hands of me like other people have, and so I was mindful of that, and a couple of days beforehand I started getting spots of it coming up on my stomach. But I don't think that stress is everything. I think it's a contributory factor, but it's not the actual sole reason for it.
hmm Well, if I can take you back to before you started LDN, how did you go about obtaining a prescription in the first place? How did you hear about LDN?
I heard about LDN from the self-help group that I'm involved with, which is Hailey Hailey Disease New Approaches. This was started off by a lady called Laurie Tongoni and Thomas Holm. And there are 70 people involved in that now.
hmm
And each one of them is we're trying to help each other through this. And one or two, well, quite a considerable number of them are now on the group, have had LDN prescribed, and I saw it, saw that they'd had it, so started researching it, because once I found out what Hailey Hailey disease was, that it was a congenital effect of the calcium pump, and that it was hereditary, I started looking into it. Did a vast amount of research and came across the work of Dr. Bernard Bahari. So that's how come I found out about LDN.
hmm And how long ago was that?
Right, that was about January time this year.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago. It was about December, January time when I started. I was formally diagnosed with it in October last year.
hmm So once you'd heard about LDN and you could see that other people were taking it, what did you do about getting a prescription?
Right. I had spoken to my doctor, my GP, and asked my doctor if there was any chance that he would prescribe LDN for me, and he said he couldn't because of directives that have come from the local commissioning group on prescribing off-licensed drugs. I then spoke to my consultant about LDN, and she said that she couldn't do it either. So I wrote to the commissioning group for Dudley in the UK, asking them if it was possible. I had been referred by my consultant for laser treatment on this, which I wasn't really keen on because that was just going to affect the skin, the surface. It was a cosmetic reconstruction. It wouldn't affect the cause, but they refused that as well because it didn't fit their criteria. So I wrote to the chief officer of Dudley Commissioning Group, and I wrote to him 5 times. I tried to phone him 3 times, and he wouldn't speak to me. So I knew I was getting absolutely nowhere. My consultant had used LDN in the past. Well, she'd used Naltrexone before. And she was quite happy with the research that I'd done and was willing to give it a try. But of course, if it's out of area, which she's in Birmingham and I live in the Dudley catchment area, she can't do it with that. So she wrote to Dudley, and her request for LDN for me got through the hospital board, but was rejected by the commissioning group. So I knew that this was going to happen, and I knew that we wasn't going to get anywhere. As I say, I had 5 letters ignored, so I looked at sourcing it myself. I sourced it myself. I went to my GP and I said, look, if I get this myself, will you supervise me? And he responded to me that if I got it and was taking it, he would have nothing to do with it. So I thought, right, okay, here we go, I'm on my own. So I stopped all antibiotics in February. I stopped all opioid painkillers in February. And on the 28th of February, I had got my supply of LDN, and I gradually started building it up from 1.5 milligrams up to 3, and then up to 4.5 over a period of time. Mm-hmm. I've now been on it for just over a month. I've been on it for 5 weeks.
And you very kindly offered to give us some before and after photographs, which people can see at the end of the interview, which are nothing short of absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, I would go so far as to say that that has changed my life. I mean, only one little thing, but I mean, everybody who has this will suffer from it. Because of the pain that is there, and the pain that is constant, it's 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. So you can't sleep. And there are some people that I know who have this on their back. Well, they can't sleep on their back. Fortunately, I don't. But it doesn't matter, because where it is in the groins, chest, and armpits, I mean, if you move around in bed, which we all do, then the pain of that wakes you up. So for a period of time, I was getting on average about 2.5 hours sleep a night, mm-hmm. Which was not exactly doing me any good either. With it and with the job that I did, I can't work. I haven't worked since last June. Because I can't stand in one place for very long, I can't sit for very long, and I certainly can't drive because I can't get in a driving position. Now, what the LDN has done, it's transformed, it's taken the pain, it's healing dramatically. The groin area is it's not as improved as the neck, but then again, it's absolutely entrenched there. So I'm not expecting it to work as fully in other areas. But my underarms are clear. My chest is clear, and I am able to basically live a more normalised life. Groins are still sore, so I have to be careful, and I'm bathing 4 times a day. So I'm still not ready for going back in front of a classroom full of kids, but I certainly am feeling a lot easier. And apart from that, I think it's important to say that the support that I've had from the group, from LDN Research Trust, and from my consultant have given me hope, optimism, and a determination to get this thing kicked into touch.
What about your sleeping pattern now?
Sleeping pattern is more or less normalised. I might wake up during the night once or twice, but it is literally for 15-20 minutes while I just get comfy again and go back to sleep.
And that in itself has an impact on everything, doesn't it? Just being able to get your rest and have a sleep.
Yeah. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you know you still got it, and you know it's still sore in areas. But when you're actually seeing the thing getting better, it motivates you that something is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I may be on it for the rest of my life. I may get attacks in the future, but at least I will know then that I have something that works, something that is helping me, and something that's restoring my quality of life.
Well, that's excellent. I think you might find it's a drug for life, but because it's not toxic and it's not going to do you any harm, there's no reason why you shouldn't take it. Well, that is amazing. How about if we, say in 6 months' time, do a follow-up to see how you're progressing?
Yeah, I mean that's great by me. I mean, anything that I can do to provide information that will help anybody else that's got this, that's what I will do. One of the things that I've done at the moment is I have been recording everything on a daily basis, religiously.
Mm-hmm.
I've been taking blood pressure measurements because I do suffer from blood pressure which is managed, but nevertheless I have got slightly high blood pressure, and there's been no change in the blood pressure at all. That's a stable line on both sides. I've been noting the dosage, the symptoms, the areas, sleep patterns, mood, appetite, and documenting everything that I've been doing every day. And honestly, I can say that I have had absolutely no side effects with this. The literature states that you are best advised to take this at 1.5 and go up after about a 2-week period by 1 milligram. So 1.5, 2.5, and then up to 3. I did it a bit quicker than that, and in about 3 weeks I went from 1.5 to 4.5. I suffered no adverse effects from it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And it may well be that because I've taken 4.5 quite quickly, it may well be that I will go down to 3. And then I will see, and I will keep on measuring to see what happens after that. But there's no side effects that I have come across at all. And that in itself is marvellous. I've also taken steps to engage my MP with this matter about it being off licence. And he has written to Dudley Commissioning Group, and if he doesn't get any response, then I'm prepared to take it to the Secretary of State for Health, because I feel that the evidence that I have and the images that I have are living proof that this particular medication is invaluable for anybody who has Hailey Hailey disease.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look forward to speaking to you again in 6 months' time, Ray.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.